Well, we knew we couldn't avoid it forever. New Mexico reported its first cases of COVID-19 this week. The governor's message: be a state that is prepared, not panicked. Did it hit home, and is it realistic? Our line opinion panel has agreed to read up on the issues and come in prepared to tackle COVID-19 and all of our topics. Merritt Allen is here. She's the owner of Vox Optima Public Relations. Dan McKay, a political reporter with the Albuquerque Journal, joins us. The same title fits Andy Lyman. His title also fits the New Mexico Political Report. And rounding out the table is attorney and line regular Sophie Martin. Welcome to you all. Now, Sophie, this is a fairly measured performance by the governor. Did the governor give the impression that the state is prepared and not panicked, as she said? What was your takeaway? How should folks take away her press conference?
I think that's a good question. I think, frankly, it depends on who you ask, because there is a pretty wide range of opinions at this point as to whether COVID-19 is actually a thing. It's a thing, just if I can put that out there.
Yep.
How concerned people should be, et cetera. I think for state government, which is, a huge part of our workforce, frankly, and a community that is most immediately impacted as some people are now working from home. They're making changes, we're hearing, in terms of the size of groups that can gather within the state government context. The court system has said that they want to keep the size, for instance, of jury pools quite small in order to reduce possible transmission. I mean, we see various state government departments stepping forward. For the person who works for a fast food restaurant, who is involved in the service industry in some way, who may not have the opportunity to shift how they work, where they work, et cetera, I think that this is probably both alarming and something they feel they can't do a lot about.
Right. We're all doing our bit, and viewers might notice we're sitting here with water bottles, guys, instead of our usual, New Mexico in Focus cups, because we're taking care in our own way ourselves as best we can. And Dan, interestingly, when you watch the governor, she came out and opened with cleaning of her hands with some, sanitizer, and you always want to demonstrate and show, don't tell, as they say in screenwriting, and she did that quite well. But there's a lot of stuff out there on Facebook when you see a lot of the misinformation, a lot of the misunderstandings, probably a better word, about this. How far can government get about giving these kind of messages out there? A lot of folks are not as news houndy as we all are in hanging on these things. So it's a tough task.
Yeah, it seems like the news is kind of rippling through different orbits. It's now hitting sports with the suspension of the NBA. Tom Hanks's positive test is going to get a lot of attention. So
that was huge, wasn't it? That really went off across the country.
You're right. I mean, it's difficult when someone is an elected official and everything they say is kind of interpreted through these partisan prisms. Right. And the governor faces, as Sophie mentioned, a balance between trying to get people to take this seriously, but also not, promoting panic.
And Andy, one of her messages, I think maybe a little underplayed considering what's going on in the public out there, is this aspect of hoarding and buying to excess, toilet paper, water, whatever the case may be. That is a hard thing to get across to people, to tell them, no, don't buy what you think should be safe or enough. You see what I mean? That's a very hard thing to do. We're going to have to all sort of self-police each other in a way to get through this.
I think like what has been addressed so far is social media has a big impact in this, where we sort of, as humans, trust our friends on social media. So if somebody says, oh no, the CDC said we should buy all this, then we're like, oh, okay.
Right.
But there's no follow-up questions of, well, why are we doing this? And I think there's been an interesting sort of thread on social media of, remember that other people need to wash their hands too. So don't take it away from everybody else.
That's right. That's right.
And of course, it creates a snowball effect where they see, oh, the shelves are empty, I better get right to my grocery store so I can just get my regular things, right, even if I'm not going to get quarantined.
That's right. And you think about the reasons for toilet paper shortages. There's no reason when you think about it, but this is how folks work. Not laughing at anybody who has done this. I'm just saying this is part of the big, greater problem. The telecommuting part, let's talk about that. The governor made mention of that. She wants non-essential workers. We're still not quite clear what that constitutes, non-essential state workers. Do not go out of state. Travel's limited, and telecommuting. Easier said than done, though, isn't it? We're still a state that doesn't have exactly wall-to-wall high-speed internet connectivity every corner of the state.
Yeah, that is a real challenge, and that's something I've seen. My company has a lot of staff in D.C., and they're on government sites. and we have had to submit to several clients our telework plan, our alternate work site plan.
Right.
And so I see that happening, but that is largely for white-collar jobs.
Right.
That doesn't change the oil patch, it doesn't change construction, it doesn't change these other jobs. So it is a little confusing. I do applaud the governor getting out so quickly in crisis communications. We had 3 cases.
Yep.
She has a press conference. I thought that was really well done because in the period, in that period between 3 cases being reported and hearing from the governor, you want to close that gap because that's where things get uncertain and people get panicky and where rumors start. I thought that was very well done. One thing is I found myself at the Walmart Edgewood yesterday that I found quite concerning. Yeah, there's a run on a lot of things, bottled water, but also obviously people in the East Mountains are worried about their dogs. And I'm sorry to say there is no duck jerky remaining. I got the last bag.
Right.
I got the
You're
last
the
bag.
one with the last bag. All right.
I got the last bag. Only one though. I'm not
Right.
hoarding. I'm not hoarding duck jerky for
There
my
you go.
puppies.
See, be neighborly with your duck jerky, as they say.
Right.
The idea, again, back to telecommuting and who can and who
Sure.
can't and who can stay safer than
Sure.
others. There's some distinctions forming here. You started to hit on this as well. My bigger concern is the economy more than anything else. If we shut things down for a couple of weeks, say if we get a little bit worse here compared to some other places that are having people just stay inside for long periods of
Right.
time, how do we get through that bit for our local?
It depends on which part of the economy you're talking about. So one thing that I touched on earlier is sort of the service level area of our economy. We can, and I hope people will, look to what has worked in other environments. So for instance, in Italy, food delivery can happen from restaurants after 6 o'clock. I had a conversation this week with an Uber driver in Austin who was talking about, I'm going to sign up for Uber Eats because I think I'm not going to have people in my car, but I'm going to be able to bring them food. And we talked about how potentially people might need to have medication or whatever brought to them as well. So I think to the extent, this isn't going to help everybody, but to the extent that the gig economy at least is looking to how is it working in other places, how could we make it work here, that perhaps provides a little bit of support in that area. But there comes a point at which you say, do I feel safe going to Sonic? Do I feel safe going to Starbucks? Do I feel safe going into Walgreens or Walmart? Some companies, some national companies, have already started talking about essentially income support for people who have to stay away because of coronavirus or who aren't going to be able to work because they just don't need as many people in the business at that particular time. I think that's a really positive move. Some businesses may decide they can't do that, and so that puts the burden back on the state to make decisions about how folks are going to be supported.
That's right.